Hello, everyone. It's Brent here, and I'm here today to give you my creative outlook on my second time doing this project. And today I'm talking mainly about the mass market and about incentives and how those two things have really impacted each other. So, I just want to say I've had a little bit of limited resources, but here's kind of what I've come up with. And I'll attach a picture of this to the slide so you'll be able to see it. But essentially, it's this mask with these two lines, and each line represents, it's kind of like a graph in my mind, and it's the blue line represents people, and the purple line represents the resources that the mass market has. So essentially, I will just put up the photo right next to it so you can compare, but I'll also do it right here. So we're starting off, and there's not really a great need for masks. And so the mass market is kind of doing just fine. They're both kind of parallel. Then, as you see on the timeline, in February and early March, the incentives and the fear around buying masks goes up drastically. Suddenly, everyone wants a mask. So the demand for the mass market starts increasing quite a bit. In the mass market, unprepared all the way down here, its supply starts to decrease because they just were so unprepared for this huge uptake in sales, obviously. And so we hit this point in which the incentive had to change where the demand was super high and the supply was super low. Now, this was the point with the tweet that I pointed out, and there was a lot of news back then that actually incentivized people, hey, maybe let's hold off from buying masks right now and let the medical community have more of them. And so, as the incentive to buy masks decreased, the demand for it went down publicly. And so, because the demand went down, it gave the market some time to recover. So the quantities started to go back up. And we see this inverse relationship where they cross eventually a few months later when the market starts doing really good again. And then the demand goes back up and the incentive changes again to the public. And they go, you know what? Everyone, you can buy a mask again. Go crazy, go stupid. And so then after that, we see the demand goes way back up, and we see it's completely fine until very recently where the demand is still very high. And the quantity is still high, don't get me wrong. I'll include an article about this on my reference page, but it is still trickier to get masks in the medical community than they would like. But you see, because of the shock to the market is initially over, both the demand and the supply end up at two higher points than when they start. Now, here's where the metaphor kind of comes in because it's a creative project. So, here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that we only should or shouldn't wear masks because of this information. I don't want someone to say, Brent, masks are dumb. You just told us. They just changed the incentive. Well, yes and no. They changed the incentive so the medical community can have more. But in reality, there's a lot more information between what we're just seeing on this mere little page. So what I am saying is it's always been important to wear a mask, but the resources available have not always been there. So at the end of the day, no matter what the incentive is, I think it's important to go out in public and wear your mask. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed my little metaphor. Again, I'll include the photo, and then I have a whole page of references and a lot of great articles that will reference all of this. So thank you again, everyone.